It's the 19th of October, and that means it's time for the 19th film in my 31 Horrors of Mike. It's just flying in, isn't it? So the film we're going to talk about is the 1957 classic Night of the Demon. You may also have seen it as Curse of the Demon if you come from America. The film was directed by Jack Tournier, who most famously directed Cat People under the stewardship of Val Lewton. It stars Dana Andrews as the main character Holden, who is an American who is visiting England, and while he's visiting England, he decides to investigate a man called Dr. Julian Carswell, who claims to be an occultist and in touch with the supernatural aspect of life. Holden is, in fact, a complete skeptic, and in some scenes in the film, we see him actually debunk other people, and he wishes to debunk Carswell. So, the film progresses as Holden realises that he's actually been cursed by Carswell. He's had a little slip of paper put into his pocket unknowingly, and on that piece of paper is some sort of curse. Every time he takes it out of his pocket, it seems to want to escape his hand. It's as if the air or the wind catches it and wants to get blown away. And the whole film is about whether Holden can hold on to his skeptical ideals of how the world actually works, or whether he's going to be forced to confront a really horrible truth, which is that demons and things that go bump in the night really do exist. This is preceded by a death early in the film where we actually see someone being killed by a demon who, and this person has been cursed in a similar way to Holden. So you kind of know from early on what is in store for Holden, and the whole idea is that he's got to, he's got to renounce this idea of being skeptical about the supernatural to Carswell to have any chance of surviving. When I originally watched this film, it was really impressive, especially the special effects. The special effects are excellent. Reading about the production of the movie is quite interesting because apparently the director and the producer had a real disagreement about whether to actually show physically any supernatural manifestation in the film. Now they do show things, and when they do show things, the effects for the time are fantastic. I think they're really well done, they're really atmospheric, and as a kid when I watched it, it was really quite frightening. The problem is that the film is set up as an ideological battleground for, I suppose, atheism and skepticism against, I don't suppose theism, but a belief in the supernatural. And the problem is that through showing physically what's actually happening, there's no doubt left in the audience's mind that these things are real within the context of the film. I think that the director originally wished for that aspect of the film to be left more ambiguous, so you wouldn't know if there were such things as demons and whether they really were out there or not. And I think that's why the director and the writer fell out with the producer, because the producer later on, from what I've read, inserted the scenes with this bizarre creature in it and all sorts of stuff. That being said, it's still really enjoyable. I don't think it's quite as good as I remembered it as a child. As a kid, let's say I was really impressed by it. I think it is atmospheric. I think there are some really good performances in it, but I think there's also some rather wooden performances by other actors in the film, and the story doesn't flow as well when I watch it now. But even though it's not as great as I originally thought it was, I think it's still a classic within sort of B movie horror. The BB can't even speak. BB shut up. B movie horror films. It's a real classic within those, and yeah, I would definitely recommend it. It's based on a short story by M.R. James, who's one of my favourite writers. The story was called Casting the Ruins, and I think if you have watched Sam Raimi's Drag Me to Hell, the whole concept of passing on the parchment, the piece of paper with the curse on it, I think he probably watched this film, and that's where some of those ideas came from. So that's Night of the Demon. You may find it's Curse of the Demon. I would recommend that you get. Now I'm trying to remember which way around this is. I think the European version is longer and it's called Night of the Demon. The American version is shorter and it's called Curse of the Demon. I would recommend you get the longer version. It's only longer by a couple of minutes, but I think it's got some important stuff in there, some important scenes. It's got a lot of atmosphere, and it's a nice little, you know, exploration of skepticism. It's just a shame, I suppose, in one way that they did show you things, because it doesn't leave it ambiguous, but in the other sense, it's really well done when they do show you, so it kind of makes up for it. Anyway, that's Night of the Demon. That's the 19th film in my 31 Horrors of Mike. Sorry I got a bit garbled as I was talking earlier on. I do tend to do that and get like that. And I will be back tomorrow with the 20th in my 31 Horrors of Mike list. Can't believe it. I think we're getting towards the end now. It's amazing. I'm going to try and get something else special in for Halloween, and that's all. And I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye. Less garbled.